हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, जयो राधा विनोद राधा, विनोद श्री राधे, जयो जगन्नाथ जगन्नाथ बलदेवा, जयो सुभद्रा, बलदेवा जयो सुभद्रा, जयो गौरनिताय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय, जयो गौरनिताय, गौरनिताय जयो गौरनिताय, प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जयो जयो प्रभुपाद, निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल, हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल, स्वयं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine, Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine, निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणी, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं, देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये, नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया, भगवतिरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी, कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you for today's discussion of Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam. Um, First of all, before I speak, I seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas so I can speak something for my own purification, and I speak something that is pleasurable to all the devotees and the lordships and Srila Prabhupada. Today, the topic that I was asked to speak about was on the significance of Srila Prabhupada's purports and book distribution, because there's marathon going on, so we need to discuss something about book distribution. So before I speak, I seek the blessings of the acharyas. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishna Vamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. भूतैर्महद्भिर् य इमा पुरो विभुर् निर्मायशेते यदमूषु पुरुषः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मक सोऽलङ्कृषिष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे. So, so just to understand the significance of Srila Prabhupada's purports, this was a specific, very specific topic. But before we go into the discussion of why it is significant to discuss and study scrutinizingly Srila Prabhupada's purports, we have to understand we all have gone to colleges, is it not? And we have children here going to school. We would not read any book scrutinizingly unless we understand one thing. What is that one thing? What is that one thing? If we do not understand what that thing is, we will not read the book scrutinizingly. About? Exactly. The purpose of the book. Because if we do not know the purpose of the book, then it will be like browsing magazines in the barber shop. You know, when you go to the barber, there'll be a lot of magazines and newspaper. You'll just browse. That is not scrutinizingly studying, you know. So unless we know the purpose of a book, so when you go to a college, I studied in the BMS College of Engineering here. I did my evening college of mechanical engineering. So if I'm studying, let's say, mechanical design or kinematics or dynamics, if I do not know what is the purpose of the book, I will never understand and appreciate what the book contents are. Is it not? So it is very important before we begin, we understand the purpose of the book, the dheya, the sadhya, the goal, the purpose of why the book, why I'm even studying this book. What is it in it for me? I have to understand that. Because as long as I do not take personal interest in studying a book, I will not put any sincere efforts to go deep and understand the messages that the book is trying to elucidate. That is why it is very important to understand the purpose of the book. Otherwise, the prospective reader will not be able to connect with it. In the ancient system of the Shastras, um, there is a method of understanding knowledge. It is called as epistemology. In English, it is called as epistemology, or uh, in one sense, it is called pramana shastra. Pramana shastra means when you read shastra, when there is adhyayana of shastra, we have to understand what is the process, or what is the process of obtaining this knowledge. That is called epistemology. Because if you see in the Bhagavad Sandarbha, in the Tattva Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami writes, he elaborates on epistemology. In fact, the Nyaya Sutras, the Karma Mimamsa, already all of these scriptures talk about it. What is that? Knowledge. You must have all heard about pramana, Shabda pramana, Anumana pramana, Pratyaksha pramana. These are all epistemological studies. How do you obtain a specific knowledge? Is it not? So, how do you obtain the knowledge of an apple? How do you obtain the knowledge of an apple? So, you see it through the eyes, you smell it, you taste it, then you relish it. There are so many ways you can obtain the knowledge of an apple. But before you obtain the knowledge, these days, what do? Let's say you want to taste a new fruit. I live in Melbourne. So, when I bought a house, we had a tree which had green fruits in it. And I did not know what fruits they were because I've never seen that fruit. So I had to Google it. But those days we did not have Google Lens. Now you take a photo of the fruit, it will tell you what fruit it is. But I had to describe green fruit, this leaf, that leaf. This was 15 years ago. There was no Google Lens then. So then the Google, it matched the photos and I could understand the fruit name was Feijoa. I don't know if you've heard of the fruit. Feijoa. They also call it as pineapple guava. It's very famous in Fiji and that part of the world, Australia. So the fruit, I mean, I took the house. I did not eat the fruit for 2 years because I did not know what it was. But then in the market, I saw the fruit was being sold for $20 a kilo. And I had probably 20 kilos in the tree, which I had not touched it for 2 years. And they were all being dropped down. So unless I know what it is, so I had to go and Google it. So Google is almost like Shabda Pramana. So it will give you what knowledge it is, what fruit it is it palatable or not, and then you will go and try to relish it. So in the same way, there are various ways in which you try to come to a conclusion of how knowledge can be obtained, and that is what is called epistemology. Epistemology. And Jiva Goswami says the only way you can obtain knowledge is Shabda Pramana. I always had this doubt because Shabda, how is Shabda obtained? How do we perceive Shabda? Through the ears. But we have already rejected Pratyaksha is useless. But we are using the same senses to obtain the same knowledge of Shabda. Is it not? I'm using the same ears to obtain the knowledge. I'm hearing now, right now, Srila Prabhupada's purports. We are reading Srila Prabhupada's purports through the same ear. But we have said the ears and eyes are faulty. So then, how do we then validate Shabda Pramana? Because we are saying Shabda means ultimate, Pratyaksha means low class. Because Pratyaksha can be true, sometimes cannot be true. Anumana can be true, cannot be true. Then Acharya say, actually, Pratyaksha is the best as long as it matches to your Shabda. If Pratyaksha has an altercation with Shabda, then there must be something deeper in the Shabda. Go and deep study, do a deep study, analyze deeply what Shabda means. Because if it's not coming into the grasp of your experience, that means the Shabda is trying to say something superior to your senses. Try to acknowledge it. Then, because of the mercy of the Acharyas, this Jnana will be, by the mercy of Krishna and the Acharyas, this Jnana will be Swayameva Spuratyadaha. Because Rupa Goswami writes, Atha Shri Krishna Namadina Bhaved Grahyam Indriyaihi. So, Swayameva Spuratyadaha. So it will spontaneously be elucidated for us when we actually go through the shelter of Shabda Praman. That is what the epistemology is. That's what Jiva Goswami says. Shabda Pramana is very high, is the topmost. Now, keeping this in perspective, if we open and start studying Srila Prabhupada's books, now before even we go there, let us understand what was Prabhupada's goal of establishing this movement called ISKCON. The first two purposes I was reading was, I'll read the purpose of ISKCON: to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. See, it's interesting because Prabhupada did not say Krishna consciousness in the first goal. The first goal was to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge, because I will not be able to love Krishna if I do not know who Krishna is. So, therefore, the first point is try to know who Krishna is, knowledge. That's why Prabhupada said systematically propagate spiritual knowledge. And then what do we have to do? Establish values for the society and techniques of spiritual life. Therefore, we have four regulative principles, we have morning programs, there are certain techniques Prabhupada established. And then the second purpose was to propagate the consciousness of Krishna. So, actually, to propagate Krishna consciousness is the second purpose of ISKCON. The first purpose is to actually educate, to propagate spiritual knowledge. So is the significance of study of Shastras, Prabhupada actually established. That's why we will see Prabhupada also says book distribution sometimes, Prabhupada said, is higher than temple worship, because that is our main business. Temple worship is for us to congregate, but then our main business is distribute Shastra and go deep in the study of scriptures. So the second purpose is to propagate Krishna consciousness as it is revealed in the great scriptures of India, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada then compiled Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Before that, Prabhupada said we have four main books. What are they? Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Before Chaitanya Charitamrita was written, Prabhupada said teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada had not compiled Chaitanya Charitamrita yet. So once Chaitanya Charitamrita was completed, Prabhupada said these are our four main books: Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. These are our four main books that we have to study. Now we will understand Prabhupada. What is the significance of Prabhupada's books before we understand his purports? In the younger years of my life, I used to go and sit in Ramakrishna Mission next to BMS College. There is a mutt, and I used to read a lot of books. A lot of philosophy was being provided even there. जय श्री श्री राधा विनोद जगन्नाथ बलभद्र सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन महाराज की जय, श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की. When I first saw Srila Prabhupada's books, it was an amazing presentation. The reason why I say, even today, when I discuss this with my Australian colleagues in my office, when I show Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam to them, they are pretty amazed at the presentation of this book. Imagine, Prabhupada had this thought process 50, 55, 60 years ago. Like you have a presentation of the Sanskrit verse in Devanagari, and then you have a Roman transliteration of it with the diacritics, so that you can pronounce the shloka properly. And then there is word to word meanings. It is called Shabdhanuvada. And then there is Anuvada, called as translation. And then there is called Bhavartha, which is called the purport. That's why purports are called as Bhavartha, Bhava Artha, the Bhava. You have to understand the Bhava. One is to understand the Tattva, one is to understand the Bhava. So Prabhupada's presentation of the books itself is amazing. In fact, when Prabhupada wrote his first book of Bhagavad Gita, the Macmillan publisher said it's too elaborate. We cannot publish all of the pages. So Prabhupada had to write certain verses without purports. And then after the book became famous, the publishers came back and said, actually, it's very famous. You can elaborate. Now you can have a larger edition. Then Prabhupada went back and added many verses, many purports to many verses in the in his Bhagavad Gita. So this is very unique in the modern world. So Prabhupada, actually, if you really see, is there any one author whose books are widely read in the whole world? It is only Srila Prabhupada. Because no other author has compiled 80 books and are still being read, which is relevant today in probably more than 50, 60 languages of the world. Huh? So it's amazing. The achievement of such an author itself is quite amazing. Now, Prabhupada called his purports as what? He called his purports as devotional ecstasies. It's very interesting. Prabhupada used to travel in the flight, and his disciples used to, in the reflections of his disciples, they have said, Prabhupada used to very interestingly read his own books. He used to read his own books, and he used to say, these are not my books. I have not written these books. These have been written by Krishna, therefore I am reading it. I have not written these books. So this was the humility of Srila Prabhupada. So all the Prabhupada that written these books, he was accustomed to read his own books very scrutinizingly, very detailed, and he used to take great joy in reading his books. Even when he used to have his massages in Vrindavan, he used to ask his disciple to read his books. Huh? And he used to take great joy to say, amazing what Krishna has wrote. He used to appreciate Krishna. I give the credit to Krishna when his disciples used to read his purports. Now, I was thinking, how do I even discuss this topic today? Because Prabhupada's purports has been very dear to all of us. We all derive great joy and satisfaction when we read Srila Prabhupada's purports. I was thinking maybe we should classify Prabhupada's purports. We will classify Prabhupada's purports. So I thought I'll classify Prabhupada's purports under 10 subheadings now. I was just thinking, maybe this is the only way I can present it. The first classification when you read Prabhupada's purports, and many of us can relate to this, because among these 10, I mean, you can classify even 50 classifications or even 100 of Prabhupada's purports, but maybe I can classify as 10 for now. One predominating classification you can see in Prabhupada's purports is they are very philosophical, is it not? For people who are interested in philosophy, at least for me, I'm very much interested in philosophy. When I see, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 2.13, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram tatha dehantara praptihi dhiras tatra namuhyati. Prabhupada writes in the purport, according to the theory of reflection, finish, full stop. Now my mind will go, theory of reflection? What do you mean by that? Because, in mechanical engineering, they will say reference to this particular this, reference to this particular this. Then you'll go and refer something else in the library and then go deep into that particular theory, especially when you're reading control engineering or theory of kinematics and other things, or statistics, for example. The theory of reflection? What is that? And Prabhupada, like that, he quotes many such theories in the Bhagavad Gita. Another theory is, he says, theory of monism, which is a decent way to say Mayavad, theory of monism, or sometimes it is theory of Vaibhashikas, because in the philosophy of Bharata Bhumi, it's called as Shaddarshanas, the six philosophical doctrines that have been proposed by many acharyas in the lineage of Sanatana Dharma. And Prabhupada, of course, cannot give all of this, because Prabhupada's focus is what? The whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is what? Is it to understand the Shaddarshanas? No, what is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita? To understand the teachings of Krishna and become Krishna conscious. But still, Prabhupada has to keep the reader interested, is it not? In the ancient Gurukula system, students used to come and study in the Gurukula, but what was the books? The books were only three, is it not? The Vedas, the Puranas, and the Itihasas, of course, the Pancharatrika. So there were four books predominantly. The eight-year-old student also will study the same books, and a 19-year-old also will study the same books, and a 21-year-old also will study the same books. Are the same. There are no first grade, second grade, third grade. There are no classifications like that. It's the same books everybody have to study, but each person, based on their experience, based on their yogyata, eligibility and qualification, will derive amount of his knowledge from that particular scripture at that particular age. That is why from the Gurukula system, from 8 to 12 he will chant Gayatri. That is why they are called as Dvija. They get initiated in the ancient Gurukula system. They get initiated. He becomes a Dvija. He takes the shelter of Mother Gayatri. He chants the Gayatri until 12. Then he becomes eligible to study the Vedas. Is it not? But how many of us have got the Dvija eligibility or qualification. So Prabhupada starts to give us the holy name. We get qualified by chanting the holy name, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then we become qualified to read the Upanishads with his Bhagavad Gita. Because Sarvo Upanishado Gavaha Dogdha Gopala Nandana. The whole assembly of Upanishads is Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada says that is the first book we have to read, ABCs of Bhagavad, spiritual knowledge. So therefore Prabhupada says, Prabhupada's purports are deep philosophical presentations. Many a times, Prabhupada is criticized. I was talking to one of my friend's father, who is a very avid uh, student of the Vedas. He's got all his cupboards full of Vedas, Puranas, and Itihasa and everything. He's a Sanskrit professor himself. So he was criticizing Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has added Krishna wherever there is no Krishna in the book. This is a general. Then I had to explain to him, can you please tell me where Prabhupada has added Krishna, where it is not Krishna? Then he interestingly took out the verse, Yajnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartha karmano mukti sanga samachar. Now, the person said, why has Prabhupada added Krishna here? Where is Krishna in the verse? Then I told him, Prabhupada says, Yagna Artha means for the sake of Krishna. Prabhupada writes like that. Then I had to give him reference of Mahabharata. Krishna's name is Yagna. Therefore, Yagna Arthat means for the sake of Yagna. Who is Yagna? Mahabharata reference. Yagna means Krishna. Therefore, Prabhupada writes for the sake of Krishna. Did you understand now? So Prabhupada has not added Krishna wherever it's not required. Prabhupada has added Krishna where it is actually Krishna. Prabhupada is that's not emotional scholar. Prabhupada is an erudite scholar. Prabhupada has not added Krishna where it should not be added. So I told him in the Vishnu Sahasranama, Yagna Bhuk, Yagnarthat. Yagna means Krishna. There is a word, Yagna. Actually, if you, Yagno Havai Vishnu, if you see uh, the etymology of the word yagna, or if you go to Nirvachana Shastra, there is a section of Sanskrit studies called Nirvachana. If you can break the word and explain it, yagna means Krishna. It will come. Yagna means Vishnu. Vishnu means Krishna. Vishnu Tattva. So then he was satisfied with the answer. So therefore, Prabhupada's presentation is very deep. If we really go deep, one has to ask, why did Prabhupada add Krishna where there is no Krishna? He has added Krishna where there is Krishna. We just have to find it because it's so deep. Prabhupada's presentation is very deep. Some of his purports are very instructional. We will see many times in Prabhupada's purports. One such a purport I was reading while we were traveling to Vrindavan. I was reading this. We have a daily Srimad Bhagavatam reading group. We have reading groups. We all have reading groups in everywhere, right? So I have a reading group, and I was reading this verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The verse says like this: Magaradaratmajavittabandhushu sango yadisyad bhagavat priyeshu snaha yad pranavritya paritushta atmavan siddhyatyadura natathendriya priyaha. I will read the translation, and now you will see how Prabhupada goes from the translation to his instructional purports. My dear Lord, by the way, this is from I think this is from the seventh canto. Oh, sorry, this is from the fifth canto. This is from the Jambudvipa prayers, I think. My dear Lord, we pray that we may never feel attraction for the prison of family life, consisting of home, wife, children, friends, bank balance. Prabhupada translates vitta as bank balance. Very unique. Gaur Govind Maharaj had a very great difficulty while he was translating the books to Odia, because now, how do you translate vitta to bank balance? Vitta means money. General translation to English, Sanskrit to English dictionary, vitta means money. Now, Prabhupada translates it as bank balance. Now, one may scratch their head, why does Prabhupada write bank balance? Actually, in today's day and age, do we even see money? Especially in India, because in Australia is a backward country actually, because we still use cards, we still use cash. Many places they still use cash, but in India you have UPI, very advanced system. My colleagues are surprised when they hear of UPI because India is really advanced in that sense. So Prabhupada writes bank balance because vitta means bank balance only, because in today's day and age, when salary comes, in previous days, and in salary means notes, somebody brings in cash and they say salary aa gaya. Nowadays it's just the numbers on your phone, is it not? It's just the numbers. So many amount dollars credited. And the dollars can go quickly also if somebody hacks the bank. Somebody hacks the bank, $0. And then the person will faint. So it's actually bank balance only in one sense. The wealth today is bank balance, if you see. So Prabhupada translates it as bank balance, which is very relevant for today's context, relatives and so on. If we do not have, if we do have some attachment, let it be for the devotees whose only dear friend is Krishna. A person who is actually self realized and who has controlled his mind is perfectly satisfied with the bare necessities of life. I will read this sentence again because the purport is very interesting. A person who is actually self realized and who has controlled his mind perfectly satisfied is satisfied with the bare necessities of life. He does not try to gratify his senses. Such a person very quickly advances in Krishna consciousness, whereas others who are too attached to material things find advancement very difficult. Now, in the Melbourne temple, we have a very small brahmachari ashram. We have around 10 to 11 brahmacharis, and each brahmachari has a cupboard. It's probably this tall and this section, and this deep. That's all their cupboards is, and that's all their belongings are. And every year they do a cleanup of their cupboard, and they throw something that they have not used for that year. So they reduced it. They minimalized. It's called minimalistic living. So I just remembered when I read this. Now Prabhupada writes in the purport, taking the cue here, which says, satisfied with bare necessities of life. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, a devotee is not interested in unnecessarily increasing the demands for sense gratification. Now, if somebody can contemplate on this particular sentence alone, a devotee is not interested in unnecessarily increasing the demands for the senses for gratification. Okay? Prabhupada continues. He writes, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktya upahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Krishna writes, Prabhupada writes this. And then, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. Prabhupada then continues the punchline here. Why should the menu be unnecessarily increased for the satisfaction of the tongue? Now, see, this is a very interesting statement. I'll read it again. Why should the menu, Prabhupada writes, why should the menu be unnecessarily increased for the satisfaction of the tongue? I sent this to my Srimad Bhagavatam reading group. We also train children and we call it as Gopa Sangha groups. Generally, when mothers think, they always think to cook something new for their children. Generally, we have to cook something new for the lordships also. But at the same time, when Prabhupada writes, why should the menu be unnecessarily increased for the satisfaction of the tongue? And then Prabhupada continues, devotees should eat as simple as possible. Otherwise, attachment for material things will gradually increase. And the senses being very strong will soon require more and more material enjoyment. Then the real business of life to advance in Krishna consciousness will stop. So Prabhupada ends his purport. It's quite amazing. If you really contemplate on this, then this particular point I sent it in my group, and they all asked the question, Prabhu, what do you mean by reducing the menu? I said, taking out pizza and pasta from the menu. They said, why pizza and pasta, Prabhuji? Because some people like dear. Then I said, look, for pizza, you have to put cheese. Where does the cheese come from? It doesn't come from your kitchen. It comes from the factory because you have to produce cheese. It is not human made. It has to be made in the factory. So the more you have to rely on pizza, the more you have to rely on advancement of factories. The more you have to depend on factories for your food. That means your elaborate arrangement has now pasta. Where does pasta come from? It is a factory made product. Is it not? So why we are complicating life? So that's what Prabhupada, if you can drag this one line, why should the menu be unnecessarily increased for the satisfaction of the tongue? It is very true and relevant, is it not? If we deeply go deep and meditate on this, how do I simplify my life? I only eat one pizza per week, Prabhuji. That's not simplification, sir. That is eating khichdi every day is simplification. Eating one pizza per day is not simplification. So, like that, we can meditate on Srila Prabhupada's purports deeply from a personal application perspective as well. To say, how do I simplify my life? The third aspect which we can classify Prabhupada's purports is social aspect. We always see Prabhupada writes elaborate purports when it comes to social aspects of life. For example, establishing Varnashrama system. Because Varnashrama system is the beginning point of our establishment of human society. Somebody is in the gamut of Varnashrama means they have come to the human form of life. That's why Prabhupada ordained. Initially, when Prabhupada started ISKCON, he did not give so much prominence to Varnashrama, but in the later years, he made sure that Varnashrama should be established because it is important. Because every human has a different psychophysical nature, and they have to be engaged in their particular psychophysical nature. And Varnashrama enables the society. So Prabhupada uh, writes about Varnashrama society. He writes about marital society, how important marriage as an institution is. Why is marriage an important institution? Because our progeny, if the progeny is not correct, then we have a Varna Sankara population. So marital institution. Therefore, Prabhupada, being a sannyasi himself, sat as a purohit for weddings. Can you believe it? Sannyasi himself. It is unheard of in the sannyas ashrama and the other sampradayas. You will not see a sannyasi sitting and getting people married. But Prabhupada did that. Prabhupada cooked. Sannyasi is a niragnika. He cooked. He became a purohit, and yet he reflected this in his purports. Institution of marriage. He spoke about brahmacharya. He spoke about sannyasa and the rules of a society. Very important. Prabhupada made all of these. And then you will also see Prabhupada being very political in his purports. You've seen Prabhupada talks about being leaders in the society. We should elect our own Krishna conscious leaders. Our judges should be Krishna conscious leaders who will wear tilak and shikha and then give judgments. Prabhupada also envisioned a complete society full of Krishna consciousness. He did not make it as a separate segregational society which is, busy with their own temples and nothing to do with the society. He said it should be a part of our living. In fact, Prabhupada, I took a purport from one of the purports. Prabhupada writes, when he writes about Prithu Maharaj, if you read Prithu Maharaj's pastimes, Prabhupada, you will see many of the purports have a social and a political flavor. One of the Prabhupada writes, he's writing this purport in Bombay. You can understand this. Prabhupada writes, this is verse number, Canto 4, chapter 20, verse number 21, 4, 20, 21. Prabhupada writes, just today, we have seen in the newspapers of Bombay, this is the purport, okay? In the purport, Prabhupada writes this. So that's why I said Bhavartha is Prabhupada is phenomenal in this way, right? Because how do you even try to write a Bhavartha of Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam and write this particular thing? He writes this, just today we have seen in the newspapers of Bombay that the government is going to repeal its prohibition laws. This is in terms of liquor, because Bombay at those times had banished liquor. This is those days when Prabhupada was compiling the fourth canto. Prabhupada continues. Ever since Gandhi's non-cooperation movement, Bombay has been kept dry and has not allowed its citizens to drink. But unfortunately, the citizens are so clever that they have increased illicit distillation of liquor. And although not being sold publicly in shops, liquor is being sold in public lavatories and similar abnormal places. Look at Prabhupada's observation. He's writing his observation that liquor has been sold in public lavatories, and this is a purport of Srimad Bhagavatam. Can you understand the beautiful nature of, because if we cannot observe and relate it to today's day and age, then the philosophy of Krishna conscious remains very esoteric. You cannot apply it to our daily life. Then it becomes very high principles, and they will appreciate the principles without being able to comprehend how can I apply that in my daily life. And Prabhupada writes, Prabhupada now brings the Krishna conscious flavor to this. Unable to check such illicit smuggling, the government has decided to manufacture the liquor at cheaper prices so that people can have supply of intoxication directly from the government instead of purchasing it in public lavatories. And then Prabhupada writes, the government failed to change the hearts of the citizens from indulging in sinful life. So instead of losing the taxes they collect to inflate the treasury, they have decided to manufacture liquor to supply the citizens who hanker after it. You see, Prabhupada now gradually brings a Krishna conscious angle that they could not transform the hearts of the citizens. Whereas ISKCON was able to transform the same hippies in the US who were actually alcoholics. So Prabhupada is bringing forth that point. So this is the expertise of Srila Prabhupada. Now, Prabhupada's purports are also phenomenally educational. We were inspired in Melbourne by Her Grace Arudha Mataji, who has homeschooled His Grace Radharaman Prabhu, Radhikaraman Prabhu, and his brother. Up to fourth grade to fifth grade, all our homeschoolers in Melbourne, at least, I can say because we've seen our children, they have their only English textbooks for Srila Prabhupada's books. They have not read any other English textbooks except Srila Prabhupada's books. I know Krishna and Haigriva and Krishna Gupta, they've all studied Prabhupada's books. One of the parent, what he's done, he's compiled from the Veda base complex vocabulary. You know the glossary that we have from Prabhupada's books? He's taken out complex vocabulary which ran up to 5,000 pages of Srila Prabhupada's vocabulary. And he said, just by reading this vocabulary, you don't need any other books for English at all for a child to read. Such is the complexity and the vastness of Srila Prabhupada's literature. So therefore, it is very educational. One such an experience I had, I was sitting in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada, this was third canto, 31st chapter, 45, 46, verse number 45, 46. Prabhupada uses the word morbid affliction. How many of you know the meaning of this word? Morbid affliction. I did not know the meaning. I had to Google it. And these are the times when Prabhupada was writing these words in his purports. So such an advanced scholar is Srila Prabhupada. By the way, morbid affliction means that which is material sense gratification, which we are used to. Morbid affliction means that which is going to be destroyed eventually is called morbid affliction. Prabhupada uses that word. The sixth classification of the purports, Prabhupada's purports, is geographical. Prabhupada gives geographical locations also. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, many times you will see Prabhupada saying you can reach this place through this particular train, you can get down in this train station. Prabhupada is translating Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's commentary, but Prabhupada also gives geographical location of how to reach that particular dham. That is amazing. And then the seventh classification is Prabhupada gives personal instruction on our daily habits, on hygiene, punctuality, eating habits, exercising, dancing. And Prabhupada says laughing is a good exercise. We should laugh on Krishna's pastimes. But you see, all of this is surrounding the dheya is Krishna. The goal is Krishna. Prabhupada's purports also elucidate love of Godhead, love of Krishna. He gives rasa, nectar of devotion, purports of nectar of devotion, oozes love of Godhead, which is especially the rasa aspect. And then Prabhupada is also known for boxing purports. When we read that purport, many a times we'll feel slaps on the cheek, is it not? Many times it feels like Prabhupada is slapping us. So it is called as heavy purports. So sometimes we read it with caution because it will be heavy, especially when you read Rishabdev's pastimes. The fifth canto, Prabhupada will go really, really heavy in the purports, especially when it comes to detachment, when it comes to averse to sense gratification, and also especially intensifying our love for Krishna. So this is what I thought we can understand Srila Prabhupada's purports based on. One more thing that attracted me for Prabhupada's purports is Bhakti Shastri and Shastric studies. Because I was reading, Prabhupada very quickly writes a letter to his disciples and he gives a date and says, December, this date, this year, I will send you a question paper. All my disciples should take an exam. For Bhagavad Gita, it will be called as Bhakti Shastri. For Bhakti and Bhakti Vaibhav and Bhakti. Prabhupada writes like this, and Prabhupada says, I will form the question paper myself. I want all my disciples to scrutinizingly study my scripture, my books. And when we go and study this, what amazed me was the classification of how to study Prabhupada's books. You must have, how many of you have done Bhakti Shastri or pursuing Bhakti Shastri here? Hands up. You must all know about Cup Mars, Kuppfatmars. If you do not know, I'll say knowledge, understanding, personal application, preaching application, faith, authority, theological. So there are 12 ways you can read Prabhupada's purports and analyze it. It is we. The acronym is Cup Fate Mars. KUPPFATEMARS. We use the acronym actually. So we can see Prabhupada's purport in so many different perspectives, so many different angles. In fact, I was in ISKCON Channasandra yesterday, and I was asked to speak on Bali Maharaj because we were discussing on Mahajanas. And I just started the class on saying, let us analyze the character Bali Maharaj, character analysis. And there was one devotee who actually edits His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's books. He said, wow, this is an amazing way of seeing Srimad Bhagavatam, character analysis. So we can take Bhagavatam's character and analyze them and present them just as characters, who they are, how they are. And then we went to a discussion of how could we present, because then we related it to Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asks, Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha, kim asit vrajeta kim. He's asking how do they walk, how do they talk, how do they behave, how do they speak, what is their nature, what are their habits. So then we take a character from Srimad Bhagavatam and analyze the Sthita Pragya consciousness of that character and present them as a book. It's amazing. So, so many angles we can derive from Srila Prabhupada's purports. So many authors have written books, especially I met Her Grace Devaki Mataji in Vrindavan. Her books are amazing on Grihastha Ashrama, on youth, especially who are looking towards to get married. She's written a beautiful book to entering a beginner's guide to enter Grihastha Ashrama or something like that. Everything based on Srila Prabhupada's purports. So Prabhupada purports is amazing in that sense. So then I will just discuss 9 points how to approach the purports based on my personal observations. When we read Srila Prabhupada's purports, pick your purpose and apply in life, because many times not everybody can relate to Prabhupada's purports. For example, when my mother is studying certain aspects of Prithu Maharaj's purports, she cannot relate to political and social aspects of the purports. So, if you cannot see your purpose in the purport, appreciate Prabhupada's purport and move to the next. Because not everybody is a preacher. We have to understand that. So do not get overwhelmed by certain sections of the purports. But if you're a preacher, of course, it is mandatory. You need to understand those aspects. Second, relate yourself to the purport to understand it better. For example, when we read the menu aspect, I could relate it to Melbourne because we're all too intoxicated on pizza and pasta. Whereas the children have created a slogan nowadays: pizza, pasta, golok ka rasta. I have said, no, no, pizza, pasta, narak ka rasta. So we have to relate it to our day and age life, how we can apply it. Meditate on each line and word Srila Prabhupada writes in his purports. Many a times Prabhupada mentions certain aspects, especially certain words Prabhupada writes. We have to meditate, why did Prabhupada write this in the purport? When will we be able to meditate like that? What do you all think? When will we be able to meditate? Why did Prabhupada write this in the purport? Why did he write this sentence? What was Prabhupada thinking when he wrote this? We will only think like that if we know who Prabhupada is. We will only know who Prabhupada is if we actually hear him every day, because Prabhupada's Vani is very, very, very effective. How many of us hear Srila Prabhupada's lectures every day? At least in Melbourne, we have made it mandatory that every devotee hears Srila Prabhupada's lectures, addresses, keynote, wherever, whatever Prabhupada has given in his as his Vani. We have made it a point we at least do confidential hearing of Srila Prabhupada's voice. It goes in our ears at least 15 to 20 minutes every day. I've spoken to at least a few of Prabhupada's disciples. They say 2 hours every day they hear Srila Prabhupada. They hear Srila Prabhupada's voice. Unless we connect to his Vani, we cannot appreciate who Prabhupada. We might read a lot, but we are fortunate in today's day and age, we can hear him. We can hear Srila Prabhupada. So we have to make it a habit to hear Srila Prabhupada's Vani. Then we can understand his mode of the purport. Then we can churn the purport. Another clue is when you read a verse, Prabhupada's, sometimes the purport will go to many pages. That is a hint. Prabhupada wants to speak. Just like the Lord, in Bhagavad Gita, in Tamil, they say, Cholliyanna chonna. When you ask the Lord, he will just go on speaking. Like that, when you see Prabhupada's big purports, that is a clue that Prabhupada wants to pour nectar. So scrutinizingly go deep in that purport. See why Prabhupada wants to speak so much on that verse. Uh, Understand why Prabhupada is speaking so much. What is Prabhupada trying to tell us? Um, and hear him every day. And then when we know the author, who the author is, when we hear him constantly, then we can relate to him. Then we can understand his purports better. So I've heard many new devotees say we cannot understand Prabhupada's accent. Have you all heard this? English accent is very thick. Yes, it is. But the more you hear him, the more you will learn from him. Because our grandparents also are thick accent, right? They also have thick accent. So we have got used to them. We should get used to Srila Prabhupada's lectures. Every day we should make it a point to hear him and to read his books. Then appreciation of his books will come. With this, we will go to the next topic of the day. With all your permission, about a book distribution. It was a meditation for me also because we have a book marathon coming up. I'll just speak for a few minutes and then I'll stop. Um, Prabhupada signified book distribution a lot because it was a direct instruction from his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to him to say, if you have money, publish books. If you have money, don't even open temples. Publish books and distribute. Because it is the books that will ultimately save us. Of course, we need temples, but Prabhupada gave prominence to books also because books take precedence, because it is very important we educate people about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And we all have uh, read so many stories about the significance of book distribution. Prabhupada said in 1976 in Calcutta, reading the success of Los Angeles book distribution marathon, he said, this is transcendental samadhi. Book distribution is transcendental samadhi. Can you believe that? Not chanting. Book distribution is samadhi. And when I meditate on this, it is quite amazing because the aspect of Krishna consciousness, why do we decry even the 5 types of moksha? Why do we decry even 5 types of liberation? Huh? Yes, but why do we decry the liberation? Huh? Because somewhere if I say I want liberation, I am putting myself in the center. Is it not? I want liberation. Therefore our acharyas have said, no, we don't want moksha. What I want is always serving the Lord. If the service is available here, I'm happy. I don't want moksha. I want service, whether it is being hell or heaven, I don't care. Therefore, if you really see, book distribution brings us on the pedestal of serving Krishna by helping others. This is the beauty of book distribution, because in japa we are helping ourselves. Of course, it is service of Krishna. It is service of Krishna. Deity worship also is service of Krishna, but deity worship is also done for the pleasure of others. But higher than that is book distribution, because we are trying to help someone else to come to Krishna. Therefore, it is far more selfless service to Krishna than even our own personal sadhana. Therefore, book distribution is very significant in that sense. Therefore, Prabhupada says it is transcendental samadhi. Therefore, Prabhupada says, if somebody is fully concentrating on distributing my books for Krishna, one is fully absorbed in Krishna. This is samadhi. We had the book distribution minister, His Grace Vijay Prabhu, come to Melbourne. He seldom comes, but sometimes in a few years he visits us. And he showed us how he does book distribution. And you can see him. The way he does book distribution is he's actually in samadhi. He's talking to people, and but when he's talking to people, he said, I am not talking to people, I am talking to the Paramatma within them. So it is a meditation in itself, the book distribution. So um, I will just share a few aspects of book distribution in Melbourne, just to make it a bit more interesting. In Melbourne, they have a few for example, some particular programs. Recently they have started a OBAD program. OBAD means one book a day. One book a day. Very simple. You just give one book to someone every day, whoever it is, your friend, your colleague. your classmate, or someone whom you meet on the street, someone whom you meet in the temple, one book a day. It has been very successful. Then we have something called as MSF. You all do MSF here, monthly Sankirtan festival. So in Melbourne, there is a practice where 1 month, 1 day in a month, the whole congregation goes out for book distribution in different parts of the town. And they form groups, and there will be group leaders, and they will go, including children. Including children, they go. So there is MSF for kids and MSF for adults. And the kids is monitored, 5 kids in a group, monitored by an adult. They go for book distribution. The MSF festival has become very successful because it is primarily driven by grihasthas. Primarily driven by grihasthas. In fact, we had one such success case in Melbourne where one Mataji was taken for MSF festival, and she liked it so much that she's become one of the top most book distributor in the whole world. Her name is Her Grace Mahalakshmi Mataji, and she has, I don't know, she does up to, just in the marathon itself, she distributes 1,000 Bhagavatam sets. If the whole temple has 500 sets, I'm talking of Bhagavatam sets, she keeps another double goal, double the goal. She doesn't say, she says she will not make sets. She says, I'll give Bhagavatam and then Bhagavad Gita with it. She will talk, first thing she talks about is Bhagavatam. She says, Prabhu, people have money. People, they are waiting, Prabhuji. They are waiting for Prabhupada's books. We are not giving it to them. We have to give it to them. And she has unique ways of distributing books, sometimes very tricky. So she always, if you see her in the temple, she's always loading her car of Bhagavatam sets. And she is 55. She can't lift the sets. So she'll be pushing a trolley and she will call some newcomer only. She will not call the devotees. She will call some newcomer in the temple. Can you please help me to load my car? They'll say, yes, 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 please, I'll load. And they'll take the trolley, but the book does not end up in her car. The book ends up in their car somehow, because nicely she will speak, oh, who are you, what is your name, and you know I distribute books. You know what has happened just now, just by pushing the trolley, you've accumulated, you have destroyed million lifetimes of sins. So really, you know what you have just now pushed, this is Srimad Bhagavatam. And their hairs will stand, and gradually, you know what, if you want to become more fortunate, take the box to your house now, because this was not coincidence that you touched the book now. Really? Then the book, they're lifted it to load it in her trunk. Then she will say, don't worry, you give me your car keys, I will open your trunk. She'll open their trunk and the book box goes into their trunk. Like that, I don't know how many sets she has just sold from the bookshelf to the car and ends up in someone else's car. So amazing devotee, amazing penchant she has for selling books. She was the security in charge in the airport. She used to work for a few years, and in the last queue, you have to say bye bye to because in Melbourne, your family can come inside the airport, and there is a last gate where you can say bye bye until they vanish from the scene. She is the last person who will verify your passport and boarding pass. So she stands there. She is not allowed to hold a mobile. So what she used to do, she used to write in a chit her phone number. She used to stand there without tilak, because you're not supposed to wear tilak. And I think she used to wear tilak. So she used to give that shit to someone and she used to say, call me after you come back because I have a gift for you. Interestingly, these people used to call them. Finish. Bhagavatam set. Starting Bhagavatam set only. Then Bhagavad Gita will follow. So like that, we do not know how many sets she has sold. Many a times we open Bhakti Vrikshas. Now we have about 50 Bhakti Vrikshas in Melbourne, approximately 35 to 50. Many people come to these Bhakti Vrikshas and they will say, this book Mataji gave me book. I have come to Bhakti Vriksha because this book Mataji gave me the book. They only know her as book Mataji. They do not know her name actually. So this is one devotee, and that too she's a grihani. She has children and she's got a husband, but she's just now she's doing full time books full time, not for money. She just does it as a seva for the temple. And uh, and the husband also quit his job. He's a full time devotee in the temple. He's serving as a kitchen manager. So this is one example. The second example is one more devotee. He went to, he's from Madurai, by the way. So he went to Madurai temple. There the temple commander was a pretty strict for him. I mean, he said, Prabhu, can you please go on book distribution today? What? I've come from Melbourne and he sent me to book distribution. And then he sent him anyways. So he went on book distribution and he had a bag full of books and he did not know what to do. And from there, he was traveling to Tirupati. So he sat in the bus and he was having a bag full of books and he was thinking, I should give these small books to the bus. And it was just a public bus, by the way. So he was thinking what to do. So he went and asked the conductor, if you permit me, I will talk to the passengers here and I will give them a book. Mind you, he wanted to give the book free because he said, I've already paid for the money. I don't want to go through the pain of asking money. You know what the conductor did? The conductor had a microphone, he had an announcement system. He said, there is one devotee from ISKCON. He wants to give you all a book. So please hear him. And he gave him a microphone and allowed him to speak. And he thought, wow, this is a wonderful reciprocation from Krishna because he saw Krishna's hand in it and he started speaking for half an hour. And incidentally, he gave away all the books in that one trip, which was about 3 hours from his place to somewhere, Tirupati. He said he was going to, I don't know if it was from Chennai to Tirupati or Madurai to Tirupati. So he said, Krishna reciprocated with me. Then I gave away all the books, and every person there was able to give me some Lakshmi. Some Lakshmi, 10 rupees, 15, 100 rupees, whatever they had, they could give him. So this is one example. Another example was we have another ace book distributor in Melbourne, His Grace Ojasvi Prabhu. If we talk about him, there is no end to his book distribution feats. He can distribute books while crossing the red signal. While crossing the red signal, he says, it's wasting time. I have some persons walking with me. He'll put his hand. Hi, my name is Ojasvi Das. What is your name? Where do you live? By the way, do you know what? You're the most fortunate day today. He'll take out the book, give it to him, and say, this is yours. But you can help me by giving someone else another book. If you give me $3, I will give this book to someone else. I will buy another book, I'll give it to someone. I'm not making money out of it. And they give them $3, $5, and like that. So he can distribute books while walking on the street. Recently, this person had to go through a very big disaster in his life because his son, who was 15 or 16 years of age, he passed away in Mumbai. When his son was struggling in ventilator in one of the biggest hospitals in Mumbai, the doctors were searching for his father. And his father was downstairs distributing books to the doctors and the nurses while his son was struggling for death, life and death. The doctors were amazed what kind of a person he is. He was talking to the specialists and the doctors to say, death is imminent. This book will save you eventually. Please take it. And he's a Gujarati. He was taking money also. He was not giving it free of cost to doctors because he said doctors had money. So unmoved he was even through such difficult times. So he is an inspiration. On the lighter side, he took his Bhakti Vriksha to a picnic. Usually once in 3 months, we take the Bhakti Vriksha to a picnic. They went to a place called Grampians and he had a trunk load of books. I mean, his whole car was loaded with books. His Bhakti Vriksha member said, Prabhu, yes, itne sare books jayega kya? Then he said, let me try. So they went from Melbourne to this place and then they parked and they stopped to ask by around a hotel, a restaurant, to find out where their hotel was. And this Prabhu goes into the restaurant and he speaks to the receptionist there. You've got a nice hotel, by the way. She said, yes. And then behind the receptionist, there were some paintings and some bookshelves. Yes, by the way, your hotel is in a place of mode of goodness, but you don't have any spiritual books I can see there. You should keep some spiritual books, then you can attract nice people also in your hotel. He said, yeah, that's a nice suggestion, she said, but I do have the books with me ready. So he always goes with the books. When he goes to fuel the car, he goes with the book to pay. Because in Melbourne, you have to fuel your own car. In the foreign countries, there will be no person. You have to go outside, fuel your car, and go inside to pay the money. So he goes to pay the money with 2 books. And when he pays the money, the person also pays him back the money by taking the books. So he is unstoppable. So he went to this restaurant lady. Then he said, look, how about these 2 books? He gives her 2 books, Bhagavad Gita and one more book. I can't remember what. He says, chant and be happy. We have got that chant and be happy. He says, I've got 3 copies for you. Please put them here. It will bring good business to you. You see, you'll attract nice crowd and it'll bring auspiciousness. Oh, this is so nice of you. Thank you so much. Then he says, I also accept donations. Her face a bit went down. He says, don't worry, I'm helping you. So I'm only collecting money for distributing, uh, printing these books. And then he walked out and he came back. And he says, by the way, how many tables do you have? She says, we have 10 tables. You know what? When people go and sit and sip the coffee out there, you should have a copy on the table as well. And I have the exact books for you. Can you believe he finished off his car books in that same restaurant? 3 books per table, and the lady ended up paying him a hefty money, about $400 worth of books. The same one restaurant finished off. And then the devotees were thinking, Prabhu, सारे book खत्म कर दिया आपने, अकेले खत्म कर दिया. He says, yes, we should have brought more books. I'm sad that only one car we loaded, because there's only one restaurant we could sell. We could have sold for many other restaurants. So such is one. I'm talking only one devotee in this congregation. So like that, of course, there are so many devotees here who do book distribution. Like that, we have seen many inspirational stories where we can do book distribution as a meditation. In fact, we were on a South India trip recently. In Melbourne, we also train younger children to do books. Why? Because book distribution, we use it as a technique to train children to build confidence, to, to teach them selling techniques, to teach them to go and approach a stranger and to be able to sell a product which they do not know what the product is and still be able to sell them and convince them on that. I'll tell you one kid, he was trying to sell a book. He was probably 9 to 10 years old. He approaches a Western bodied, white bodied devotee, not a devotee, sorry, a stranger on the streets of Melbourne. And he tells him, uh, there are certain punchlines we say. Hi, how are you? I'm from Melbourne. Where are you from? That's how we start the conversation. Because we don't say, please take a book. We don't do that. Because more important than book distribution is our personal connection with them. Because the impression that the person gets is you are the first person whom who is a devotee whom the person is meeting. So it should be the best impression. So we speak to them with a smile. So we train the children with this. Huh? We don't please take a Bhagavad Gita. Now he will say, my God, he's freaking out already. So we should be smiling. So we train the children to do that. So this boy approached the stranger. He says, I'm from Melbourne. He said, I'm from Tasmania. You from Tasmania? And the child spontaneously said, oh no. And the stranger said, oh, what makes you sad? There's no temple in Tasmania, but we have a temple here in Melbourne. He was a bit, temple? What temple? But then immediately the child was actually trying to improvise, okay? And he says, but don't worry, the temple can come to your house. We've got a book. And he gave him a book. And just by the innocent endeavor of the child, he brought 3 books from the child. 3 books from the kid. And he was 10-year-old. I'm telling you, a 10-year-old child. Like that, we train the children to go and do it. And we have a 8-year-old child who's very bold. His name is Abhay. He stands by his name. He's just very short. He pulls someone's coat and he says, please take a book. It will help you in your life. And he says, and the people say no. He says, why you don't want? Please take it. He says, why? And when he says why you don't want, people start laughing because he genuinely asks very innocently. So we expose the kids to do book distribution. Uh, During the time of, I think, World Cup or something, we had Virat Kohli roaming the streets of Melbourne. And we told the children, because many of the Melbourne kids do not know who Virat Kohli is, because they are Melbourneites. They watch more soccer and rugby. So we said, go and approach this guy and give him Bhagavad Gita. So we had the boys go and approach him, give him Bhagavad Gita, and he said, of course, he denied. He said, I have a copy in India. I don't want it. But it turns to be that now he is a devotee, both he and his wife. They all chant now. So we train the children on book distribution. It is a very important activity, even from a material perspective. So we should have another important thing. What we do, we make sure that when we have training for kids, our brahmacharis are heroes for the kids. The only hero for a kid, for a child, for a boy especially, our brahmacharis are the heroes. They'll say, I want to become like that brahmachari because he's a best book distributor. Because when we make the book distributors the heroes, then you will have younger aspirational heroes who want to distribute books. Because as long as we do not make them the heroes, then they don't have anyone to look towards to. So we make sure what we do after this marathon in Melbourne, there is a tradition where we do gift ceremony, where every book distributor is awarded. It could be just a small photo of the deities, just a photo. It's not even with a frame, just a photo also. But we make sure even a child who has distributed one chant and be happy, he's gifted something. So what happens the next marathon? Everybody is now fired up to do book distribution. So there's something that you can we can all think of, and certain techniques we can adopt. And some we also run training sessions of how to distribute books separately for matajis. Matajis can use a different technique. Children can use different techniques. Grihasthas can use different techniques. How to sell a book at the office. How to sell a book. And some one of our few of our brahmacharis have uh, larger programs, like how to approach 100 libraries in the town to make sure they have every volume of Srila Prabhupada's books in the library. So they have a larger program, they form a team and then they visit each library. Like that, they also did for colleges, universities, um and what is that? Motels, motels like restaurants. So we made sure that some of the restaurants who are conducive to put, some of the restaurants put Bible. We also request them to put Bhagavad Gita also, the Psalm, pocket Bhagavad Gita, the small software shop, softbound copy, and it has been largely successful. In fact, Melbourne, I think, I don't know what was the ranking. Many of the book distributors stood in the top 25 book distributors in the world from Melbourne. So it has been very successful. And the book distribution ministry has appreciated their endeavors, actually. And a lot of grihasthas are participating in it. So I will stop here with a word of inspiration that Prabhupada said, we should have a right frame of mind and we should develop the eagerness to give a book irrespective of who they are, how they are, and what walk of life is. Everybody should do book distribution. Uh, Even if he is a pujari, if it is not my service, I'm a cook, I should still be able to give a book. At least one or two books, if you can, we should try. Because book distribution has a lot of benefits. One of the best benefit is it destroys false ego. It destroys false. It is not easy to go and distribute books. It is the most difficult service, because to go and distribute books and ask money and get rejected is very painful. But that experience is profound for us to become even more Krishna conscious. So there are a lot of beautiful benefits of book distribution. So we should all take up this challenge to do books genuinely, and we can also experience transcendental samadhi as Srila Prabhupada elucidates. So thank you very much. If there are any questions or comments or corrections or realizations, there's senior Vaishnavas sitting here actually. If you all want to add up, Prabhujis, Matajis. Yes, Prabhu.
Anybody wants to ask a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Very inspiring. Many of your examples and stories really touching the heart. Thank you for sharing, because we didn't know much about Melbourne Temple and Melbourne devotees. So through you, we are learning more.
Thank you.
I think it should inspire our heart to do more on book distribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much. As Prabhu said, many inspiring stories and actual examples. We have. Here, one of the I mentioned not bottleneck, but one of the challenge here is, मेरे पास है ये book. It's a common
Yes.
question, answer response that we get. So, in case, I mean, if you have heard of some examples, how we can overcome this challenge.
I'm not an aced book distributor myself. Thank you for the question, Prabhuji. I think there are far more experts sitting in the audience than me. Actually, we have Swayam Prakash Prabhu and other devotees who have wider experience than me. But generally, it is a challenge to distribute books to an Indian bodied jiva. because this is a typical answer they will have. I know, I've read Bhagavad Gita. I have. You have a copy? No, my mother has. You have a copy at home? India, I have. In Melbourne, they'll say. In India, there is a copy. Hey, you want to read? No, 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 no. Don't have time. So this is a general answer. But I think we should connect with them because Prabhupada said, if we can't give them a book in the first interaction, connect with them. The second or third interaction, they will buy the book. They will buy the book. Leave a very good impression. Appreciate them. Oh, you already have a Bhagavad Gita. You must be a very pious soul. Please visit our temple sometime. We have Prashadam Sunday feast. Please come. And when we leave those impressions, they will take it. It's very easy for a don't get dejected because they did not take a book, but appreciate them because it is not they who rejected the book. It was Paramatma rejecting the book to say try again. So if we take it in a positive stride, um, because it has so happened many times, a person has rejected the book, but they have come back in search of the book to the temple. I rejected it, but now I want it. But I knew you would give me the books, and they've taken it. So I think because you know what, even though they've rejected, they have met you, who's a devotee. They have met a devotee. They have seen the tilak. They have experienced Hare Krishna. So some purification has happened. They are just not ready at this point in time. You should say, okay, he's not ready yet. Prabhupada Prabhupada has shown his mercy to him, but he is not ready for the book to enter his house. So it will come to his house in some form of the other. So I think we should take it as a positive experience and move on, and then wish him well, and then he will come back. He will come back in some form of, ultimately not now, maybe in the next life. He will eventually come back because he's met Prabhupada, and that's why I think the first thing we do is we don't ask them the book. We give them the book. You've heard it from the book distributors. The first thing is we give them the book. They will hold it. And even they give it back, they have touched Prabhupada's books. Because they have touched it, that's it. His material life will eventually finish. So, so one fine day he will buy the book. That hope comes from touching the book, or even, we show them the pictures or something or the other. We have to attract them, or eventually they can come to the temple. They get attracted to the deities, the prashadam, or the devotees themselves. This is just my little understanding, Prabhuji. Thank you. So if there are no questions, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada's wonderful purports ki jai. Book distribution marathon ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhye vacha. Patita nam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So let us all thank Prabhuji by loudly chanting once Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. And we also had a Kannada translation by His Grace Sarvatma Rishikesh Prabhu. So let us also thank Prabhuji by loudly chanting once Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have a sponsor today. We have His Grace Ravi Lochan Gaurang Prabhu, who has sponsored Prashadam today on the occasion of death anniversary of his father, Shri N. Ganapati Raman, and Prabhu's father-in-law, Shri V.K. Ganapati. Prabhu's requesting prayers. So let us also once chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I would request Ravi Lochan Gaurang Prabhu to come forward and accept the Mahaprasadam. Yes, Prabhuji. Hanuman Prabhu, please hand over. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We have Sadayogi Prabhu, who is in the temple. He's staying in the temple for a few days. Prabhuji is here because his father has to undergo a surgery. They're waiting for the dates and the advice from the doctor. Prabhu's father's name is His Grace Ramapada Prabhu. So Prabhuji, Sadayogi Prabhu is requesting prayers from this August assembly here. And there is also a devotee whose brother is undergoing through some troubles and difficulties. So can we all loudly chant once Hare Krishna Mahamantra and pray for this wonderful devotees? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We also have Gita Jayanti coming up on December 1st, that is Mokshada Ekadashi. So it's on December 1st. As always, we